When it comes to understanding attraction, many men often find themselves overanalyzing signals and wondering if a woman is truly interested or just being polite. Relationships and dating can already be filled with enough mystery, and it's important to focus on clarity and mutual interest rather than chasing someone who may not feel the same. That's why recognizing the subtle signs of disinterest can save time, energy, and even heartache. This video offers valuable insights for men navigating the dating world. It sheds light on the behaviors women often exhibit when they're not emotionally or romantically invested. While women may not always express disinterest verbally, their actions can speak volumes, from avoiding direct rejection to withdrawing in conversation or making consistent excuses. Misinterpreting these behaviors can lead to frustration and wasted effort, so understanding these signals is key to moving forward confidently. Ultimately, this isn't about blaming anyone or creating distrust. It's about learning to respect both your time and hers. A woman who's interested will make her feelings known in a way that feels open and easy, while someone who isn't will foster confusion or complications. By identifying these 7 key signs of disinterest, you'll be empowered to recognize when it's time to gracefully step away, preserve your self-respect, and seek connections that are reciprocal and meaningful. 1. She takes forever to respond or doesn't respond at all. One of the clearest signs of disinterest is when a woman takes an unusually long time to respond or doesn't respond at all. While life does get busy and occasional delays happen, communication patterns are generally indicative of how someone feels about you. If she takes hours or even days to reply to your messages routinely without a valid reason, it's not a great sign. These delays can feel frustrating, especially if you're making an effort to communicate consistently and keep the conversation alive. A woman who is genuinely interested will likely be excited to hear from you. She might not always reply immediately, but she'll find time within a reasonable period to respond thoughtfully. It's important to note that her effort to engage with you reflects her interest level. When that effort is absent, with responses either coming in only sporadically or not at all, it can signal that she's just not invested in building a connection. Sometimes men rationalize this behavior by telling themselves things like, she's busy, or maybe she forgot. While it's true that people do have schedules and commitments, in modern dating, a woman who values the interaction will make communication a priority. She'll check her messages and take the opportunity to engage because she wants to. Interest drives effort. Regular, thoughtful communication shouldn't feel like a chore if she is genuinely into you. When faced with someone who takes forever to reply, one way to handle the situation is to mirror her energy. If her replies are scarce or slow, it's better not to overcompensate by texting more or trying harder to maintain the dialogue. Instead, take a step back and match the pace she sets. Avoid double texting or calling repeatedly, as this not only lowers your value but may also push her further away. Clinginess or insistence for attention rarely works in your favor. Furthermore, a lack of timely responses, especially accompanied by lifeless, one-word text, shows where you stand in her priorities. It can be disheartening, but it's better to acknowledge these cues early rather than waste energy chasing someone who isn't reciprocating the same enthusiasm. A high-value man recognizes this dynamic and is confident enough to walk away from half-hearted interactions. By valuing his own time and emotional energy, he sends a powerful message about his self-worth. Sometimes, when she doesn't respond at all, otherwise known as ghosting, it can feel particularly harsh. A sudden silence after seemingly positive interactions can be confusing, but it's essential not to personalize this behavior. Ghosting often reflects more on her inability to express disinterest maturely rather than any flaw in you. Confident man doesn't dwell on unanswered messages. Instead, he redirects his focus to people who value his effort. At the core of your interactions, remember this simple truth. If a woman is truly interested, she will make it known through her actions, not just her words. Delayed or absent replies speak volumes, even when no words are exchanged. By acknowledging these signs and walking away with grace and self-respect, you set yourself up for healthier, more fulfilling connections in the future. Keep your standards high. You deserve someone whose energy matches yours. True, she never initiates contact. When a woman is truly interested in you, her actions will naturally reflect her feelings. She'll want to talk to you, spend time with you, and keep the connection alive. However, if she never initiates contact, it can be a clear sign that her interest level simply isn't where you want it to be. We've all been there, checking our phone constantly or hoping for that one message that shows she values the relationship as much as you do. If you find that you're always the one texting first, the one keeping the conversation flowing, or the one making plans, it's likely she's not as invested in the dynamic. Relationships at their core thrive on mutual effort. When that effort is one-sided, it can lead to frustration, self-doubt, and ultimately the realization that you may be chasing someone who doesn't feel the same way. Of course, it's easy to rationalize her lack of initiative. Excuses like, she's shy or she's just not good at texting might seem valid in the moment, but it's important to focus on patterns over time, not just isolated circumstances. A woman who values you will make an effort to communicate. It doesn't have to be grand or constant, but it does have to exist. One way to test this is by stepping back for a while. Stop initiating contact altogether and see if she takes the time to reach out to you. If she doesn't notice your absence or make an effort to check in, it's a clear indicator that her interest is minimal at best. On the other hand, if she does reach out, it shows that your presence matters to her. It's a simple but often revealing test. It's also important to remember that a strong man who values himself does not chase after someone who wouldn't even bother to check in on him. Your worth isn't defined by how much you're willing to tolerate in pursuit of someone else's affection. A woman who is genuinely interested will recognize your efforts and reciprocate them in her own way. She will want to show you that you matter just as much to her as she does to you. This isn't about playing games or keeping score. It's about identifying mutual respect and interest. No relationship can thrive when one partner is carrying all the weight, especially at the beginning, when interest and excitement should be at their peak. Relationships should feel like a dance with both people moving in harmony instead of one dragging the other along rhythmlessly. If she never initiates contact, don't take it as a reflection of your value. Instead, view it as an opportunity to seek out someone who recognizes your worth and matches your energy. You deserve someone who truly appreciates the connection and doesn't hesitate to show it. 3. She always has excuses to avoid plans. When a woman is truly interested in you, she will prioritize spending time together, even when life is hectic. She'll find ways to adjust her schedule and make you feel like a valued part of her life. However, one clear sign of disinterest is when she consistently has excuses to avoid making plans with you. These excuses may seem valid on the surface, for instance, explaining that she's just too busy or has a lot going on right now. But when these reasons become a recurring theme, it's worth reconsidering the dynamics between you. A busy life is a reality for everyone. Work, family, and personal commitments are genuine. However, when someone genuinely cares, they'll communicate openly about their schedule and collaborate to find time to connect, even if it's brief. On the other hand, disinterested behaviour is often marked by generic, vague responses that lack follow-through. Excuses like "I forgot," "something came up," or an indefinite "I'll get back to you" could indicate she doesn't value spending time with you as much as you value it with her. These repeated excuses can feel confusing and emotionally draining. You might find yourself trying harder, proposing new ideas, or attempting to accommodate her availability only to be met with more resistance or dwindling enthusiasm. It's important to recognize this pattern for what it is: disengagement. When someone is genuinely invested in building a connection, their actions align with their words. If she truly wanted to see you, she would find a way to make it happen. This behavior might also point to the possibility of being kept around for convenience or attention. Some women may enjoy the comfort of knowing someone desires them without reciprocating the same level of interest. While this isn't inherently malicious, it does lead to an imbalanced relationship dynamic where your feelings may go unappreciated. Understanding and accepting the situation can save you from unnecessary emotional frustration. How to handle it. The healthiest path forward when facing this dynamic is to stop chasing. If someone is unwilling to prioritize time with you despite your efforts to engage meaningfully, take a step back and reassess the relationship. Withdraw your attention. This doesn't mean doing so out of anger or spite, but rather in a way that preserves your dignity and self-respect. When you stop initiating plans or responding in the same manner, it opens up a space for her to reflect and decide whether she wants to bridge the gap or continue on her own path. You'll notice two possible outcomes. First, if she genuinely cares, but circumstances held her back, she will proactively reach out and make a real effort to connect when she senses the change. Second, if she remains distant and disconnected, this confirms that her interest level wasn't as strong as you might have hoped. While this realization can be difficult, it ultimately frees you to invest your energy in relationships where mutual care and effort exist. Remember, you deserve someone who values your presence and sees spending time with you as a privilege, not a chore. Recognizing when someone is uninterested and knowing how to respond gracefully empowers you to maintain your confidence and move forward with clarity. 4. She keeps conversations surface level and dry. When a woman is not truly interested, one of the clearest signs is her tendency to keep conversations shallow, dry, and devoid of any meaningful connection. Instead of engaging in thoughtful dialogue or showing curiosity about your thoughts and experiences, she will limit the conversation to basic transactional exchanges. The effort to build a deeper connection simply won't be there. You might find her responses short and emotionless. For instance, when you share an exciting story or talk about something personal, she might reply with an indifferent, that's nice, or a half-hearted, cool. She doesn't ask follow-up questions and her tone lacks warmth or enthusiasm. This behavior creates a noticeable gap, as conversations never seem to go beyond surface-level topics like the weather or routine pleasantries. Feels like she's just going through the motions without any intention of truly engaging. When someone is genuinely interested, they naturally want to learn more about you. They'll remember small details from previous conversations, ask questions about your dreams, or want to know how your day went. However, with a disinterested woman, you'll sense an emotional wall. It's not necessarily rudeness, but more a lack of investment in the interaction. She keeps things polite, but doesn't allow the conversation to flow or deepen into shared interests or emotions. This kind of behavior can leave you feeling unappreciated or unimportant, even if she isn't doing it with malicious intent. Often, it's her way of signaling that she doesn't see the relationship growing further. It's her subtle way of communicating that she doesn't feel the compatibility or connection you might be hoping for. If you find yourself stuck in a pattern of dry, surface-level conversations, despite your best efforts to spark meaningful dialogue, take it as a sign to reflect. A high-value man knows the importance of mutual effort and connection in a relationship. It's never about forcing someone to engage, but rather recognizing when their energy isn't matching yours. Instead of chasing or begging for her attention, respect yourself enough to walk away and seek someone who genuinely shares your enthusiasm for meaningful interaction. When someone truly values your presence in their life, it becomes obvious. Conversations will flow naturally, filled with laughter, insight, and emotional depth. You won't have to force anything or feel like you're pulling teeth just to keep the dialogue alive. Remember, meaningful relationships are built on mutual interest and engagement. If that isn't reciprocated, don't settle for breadcrumbs. Walk away with grace and confidence, knowing that you deserve someone who values you wholeheartedly. By focusing your time and energy on relationships where you feel truly appreciated, you create space for genuine connections to grow. Recognize the signs early and trust that the right person won't keep your conversations surface level or dry. They'll meet you with interest, passion, and a deep desire to know your heart. Always value yourself enough to seek the love and connection that feels effortless and fulfilling. 5. She flirts but never takes it further. When a woman flirts but never takes things further, it might leave you puzzled or even frustrated. The truth is, while flirting can feel fun and exciting, it should ideally signal some level of genuine interest if there's to be a deeper connection. However, if her playful teasing, charming smiles, and witty banter never seem to lead to real progress, it could be a sign she's not truly interested in pursuing things further. For a woman not interested in building something real, flirting becomes an effortless way to garner attention, validation, or even power. She knows her coquettish behavior can draw you in, but she doesn't feel the need or want to commit to more. You might notice that after all the light-hearted exchanges, she deflects or avoids actions that would add meaning to the interaction. Subtle hints to meet up might face ambiguous responses, or your attempt to deepen the conversation could be met with dismissive remarks. The boundaries are clear. She's happy with the attention but isn't willing to take things to the next level. Her behavior might also manifest in excuses. Statements like, "We're just having fun," or "I don't really want to rush things," often serve as indicators that while she enjoys your company or attention in the moment, she doesn't see potential in developing something deeper. Some may use such language to keep the direction vague, ensuring they maintain control of how things progress. Or, in this case, don't progress at all. Managing this situation requires awareness and self-respect. It's easy to get caught up in the excitement of flirting, but if her actions suggest that her interest stops at playful exchanges, it may be time to reassess where you stand. A high-value man, someone who respects his time, energy, and intentions, never allows himself to be strung along. If you spot this pattern, the best approach is to address the behavior directly or remove yourself from the situation. Calling out the behavior doesn't mean being disrespectful. It simply involves calmly expressing what you seek and recognizing whether it aligns with her actions. Something as straightforward as saying, "I'm looking for a real connection. What's your perspective on this?" can clear up a lot. If her response reinforces the gap between her words and behavior, walking away becomes the most dignified course of action. Remember, time and energy are valuable, and there's no reason to invest either where reciprocal interest is absent. Ultimately, you deserve a partner who wants to build something with you. While it's okay to enjoy lighthearted flirtation at times, always keep in mind the difference between playful interest and genuine intent. Protecting your emotional energy and seeking meaningful connections will ensure you attract someone truly invested in the same future you desire. 6. She talks about other men around you. One clear sign that a woman is not interested in you romantically is when she frequently talks about other men in your presence. Whether it's mentioning an ex, complimenting a co-worker, or casually describing someone she met, this behavior can often indicate that she sees you more as a platonic confidant rather than a romantic possibility. When a woman is truly interested in you, she tends to focus her attention on you and is unlikely to bring up other men in ways that might shift focus from the connection you share. Women may do this for a variety of reasons. Sometimes they bring up other men to gauge your reaction, testing whether you'll become jealous or show an emotional response. This might indicate she is unsure of her own feelings or if she's simply being playful. However, in many cases, especially when she does it repeatedly, it can signal that she doesn't view you as a romantic prospect. She might feel comfortable talking about her personal life around you because she perceives the relationship as one purely rooted in friendship with no romantic expectations. It's essential to remember that this behavior doesn't necessarily stem from malice or ill intent. Often it's a subconscious way of letting you know where she stands. She may not even realize the impact of her words or the emotional discomfort it causes. However, the recurrent mention of other men highlights that her focus is not on building a romantic bond with you. If you find yourself in this situation, how you handle it is key. First and foremost, remain confident and composed. A confident man doesn't allow himself to be emotionally unsettled by such behavior. Instead of becoming jealous or defensive, you can diffuse the situation with humor or by gracefully changing the subject. For example, if she's talking about someone she's attracted to, you can respond with a lighthearted comment like, "He sounds great. Maybe you should ask him out." This approach signals that you're self-assured and unfazed. On the other hand, if her constant discussion of other men persists, it may be necessary to set boundaries. Don't allow yourself to be put in a situation where you're treated as a backup plan or emotional filler. A confident man values his time and emotional energy. If she continues to talk excessively about other men despite your subtle redirections, it might be time to step away from the dynamic entirely. Walking away doesn't mean you're being rude or petty. It's a sign of self-respect and an acknowledgement that you deserve someone who reciprocates your interest and values your attention. Ultimately, recognizing this behavior for what it is allows you to make more informed decisions about how to proceed. It's important to engage in relationships where there is mutual interest and emotional investment. If she's focused on other men in her conversations, it's likely her heart is elsewhere. And that's okay. A confident, self-respecting man accepts the truth with grace and moves forward, leaving space in his life for opportunities that align with his value and desires. 7. She avoids physical contact and intimacy. When a woman is not interested, one of the clearest signs is her avoidance of physical contact and intimacy. Physical touch is a natural way of expressing affection and connection, so if she consistently resists these gestures, it's an indication of emotional unavailability. She may shy away from any opportunities to engage in these interactions, such as pulling back when you go for a hug, flinching at casual touches, or stepping away when you lean in closer. These actions may feel subtle at first, but they are powerful nonverbal cues that often speak louder than words. Additionally, she might intentionally create barriers to discourage closer physical connection. This could involve crossing her arms, placing objects between you during conversations, or even positioning herself in ways that maintain a safe distance. Such behavior highlights her discomfort with vulnerability and her unwillingness to deepen the bond. On top of this, she might verbalize excuses to discourage progression, saying things like, "I'm just not a physical person," or "I need time to warm up to someone." While these statements might carry some truth for her, they are often polite ways of setting boundaries without confrontation. A woman who genuinely wants to connect will eventually invite closeness, even if she takes it slow. It's also important to note that intimacy extends beyond just physical touch. If she avoids meaningful eye contact or dodges conversations that foster emotional closeness, it's another layer of her reluctance to build a deeper relationship. True intimacy grows when both individuals invest in creating a space of trust and understanding. And her evasion of these actions shows that she may not have the intention to invest. How to handle it. Acknowledging this situation can be disheartening, especially if you've developed feelings. However, knowing when to stop pushing is an essential part of maintaining self-respect and emotional balance. Forcing physical contact or intimacy when the other person is resistant not only comes across as overbearing, but also diminishes your personal value. The best approach is to pull back and observe her response. If she's truly interested, she will make an effort to bridge the physical and emotional gap. On the other hand, if pulling back leads to further disengagement or indifference, it's likely a sign that the connection just isn't there on her end. And that's okay. Remember, the hallmark of a confident, high-value man is understanding when to prioritize his own emotional well-being over chasing after someone who may not feel the same. There's no place for forcing a connection. Authentic relationships thrive on mutual interest and effort. Instead of holding on to someone who avoids intimacy, focus your energy on finding someone who naturally reciprocates your affection and respect. And the right person will welcome closeness, both physical and emotional, and actively work to build a fulfilling connection with you. By accepting her actions for what they are and stepping back gracefully, you leave room for healthier opportunities to come your way. A true partnership begins with effort from both sides, so always prioritize relationships where intimacy and affection flow effortlessly. In conclusion, recognizing the signs that a woman is not interested is essential for fostering healthy and meaningful relationships. By being aware of these behaviors, you can save yourself time, energy, and emotional frustration. It's important to pay attention to actions rather than assuming or hoping for a change in feelings. Respect her boundaries, value your self-worth, and focus on building connections with people who genuinely reciprocate your interest. Healthy relationships thrive on mutual effort, respect, and open communication. Trusting in these principles will guide you toward finding the right partner for you.